Hi, everybody. This is SAAD. I didn't think that I would ever be commenting again about noble victim Jussie Smollett, but for those of you who don't know, all charges against the noble victim have been dropped. And it reminded me of a one of those episodic memory situations, episodic memories where where were you when such and such happened, and people can remember. So, for example, on 9/11, when you first discovered the horrors of what happened, you probably remember exactly where you were. Well, one such episodic memory that I have is, I think it was, I'm going on memory here, on October 3rd, 1995, and that's the day that the OJ Simpson verdict came out. I think I was heading to a classroom. I was watching the verdict being read while at my parents' house. And then I headed off to my class after the verdict came out that he was declared innocent. And I think the first thing I led with is today is a very sad day for justice. And in that case, of course, what happened is that OJ Simpson was able to use his privilege as a celebrity to get 12 jurors to completely negate an amount of evidence that would have been sufficient to convict 100 people. As a matter of fact, there were lawyers who said that many death penalty cases where the person is found guilty have an extraordinary amount of less evidence than that which was available in the O.J. Simpson case. I won't retry the case here, but my point is that in that particular case, a grave injustice was done, and it was because of privilege. Lady Justice was hardly blind on that day. Now, of course, there have been endless cases within certainly the American judicial system where there was grave racism against black defendants. There are even studies in psychology where you can, for example, give a description of a crime and you can describe the perpetrator as being black or white, and then participants will give a more severe, harsher punishment for the exact same crime to the black defendant. So we know that there are a lot of biases, grotesque biases that go in, say, when it comes to historical instances of racism. But in the O.J. Simpson case, here's a black man who is benefiting from privilege. So in this case, being black is completely irrelevant. He is a celebrity who was beloved. In the case of noble victim Jussie Smollett, he's an actor who apparently seems to have some friends in high places, because if you saw the subsequent reaction of the current mayor of Emmanuel, the mayor of Chicago, and the police commissioner, who happens to be black, they were livid. They were very angry that this thing could happen, where just magically all the charges against Smollett were dropped. What kind of message does it send when someone can get off in this way? At least in the O.J. Simpson case, they actually had a trial. Here, just through abracadabra, the whole thing went away. Quite disappointing, because this is not the type of lesson you want to be teaching people. And yes, he was allegedly responsible for the hoax. And then finally, what I want to say is castrato of the media, Brian. Where is this idiot? Brian Stelter. If you don't know him, it's a good thing. He's this little castrato at CNN. I despise the guy. I hate to make this personal, but it is unbearable to see this. Anyways, I'll try to be diplomatic. So he wrote, "Cool. Were you there that night? Smollett's camp says he was the victim of a hate crime. The police dispute that. There isn't a video of the alleged attack. Thus, we may never know what really happened." Right. I mean, if you're not there, how do you know? To which I replied, "I'm with you, noble Brian Stelter. This is precisely why I don't buy into this whole Big Bang Theory and evolution stuff. I was not there, nor was anyone else alive today. This is why I think that astrophysics and evolutionary biology are BS fields, unlike CNN journalism. I always fight using underlying principles. I don't fight for the right. I don't fight for the left. I'm not encumbered by political tribalism. I'm driven by first principles. So, for example, when it came to the Brett Kavanaugh case, I was very concerned at how many of my sophisticated friends could say, well, bruh, who cares about presumption of innocence in this case? It just feels like he's guilty. Why? Because he's appointed by Donald Trump. So in this case, they're putting their blind partisanship well ahead of a fundamental bedrock principle of presumption of innocence. In this case of noble victim Jussie Smollett, and also in the case of OJ Simpson, another fundamental principle of American jurisprudence is being violated, and that is that Lady Justice should be blind. So if we're going to speak out against, say, racism in the justice system, as we should also speak out against privilege in the justice system. And in this case, those who are benefiting from the privilege are not some poor white guy from Nebraska. It is rich, privileged, entitled black defendants. That's the sad truth, folks. Talk to you soon. Cheers.